Hi there, I'm Mike Staten, Mortgage and Protection Specialist at Staten Mortgages. Welcome to another Facebook Live in my living room at home. Today, it's another Monday night, which means Claire's doing another late appointment at the office today. And I'm at home here trying to work out what to talk to you guys about, which has been pretty standard over the past couple of weeks. Now, what I was going to talk to you about today is really a question that I get asked quite a lot. And it sort of ties in with what I've been talking about over the last couple of weeks as well. It's been quite a massive topic. I've been invited to the Mansfield Nashville 2020 business breakfast this week, where I've sat there, stood up on stage, and I've been asked to give my opinions on interest rates and inflation, which is quite a big task, and got my opinions out there and got some great feedback as well. I was told that it was a bit of an eye-opener and gave my honest opinions. On the top of that, I was asked to go on Mansfield 103.2 radio station, which will be broadcast tomorrow between 6 and 7 on their business hour. And I'll be speaking about interest rates and inflation and my opinion on what's happening in the housing market at the moment. But most importantly, what you've probably all tuned in to see tonight is the header that I've got. Is now the right time to be buying a property? Well, it's a $1 million question. So it is a question that we get asked all the time. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only mortgage advisor on the planet that gets asked that question. I can certainly say that question is asked a lot to all of our advisors. We've took a new advisor on board today, Pippa, and I'm pretty sure that she'll be asked that question in the forthcoming weeks, months, and hopefully years that she stays with us. But yeah, a big shout out to Pippa. Great to have her on board. 15 years of experience working in the mortgage industry, most recently with Nottingham Building Society. So she brings a massive amount of knowledge to the business. And we're glad that we can give her the flexibility to be able to work under the multi-award winning banner that is Staten Mortgages. So onto the topic at hand, and that is our house prices. Is now the right time to buy a house? Well, it's for me, it's a question that you can't just answer yes or no. Buying a house now depends upon several different things. Number one, can you afford it? Number two, do you meet the criteria of the lenders? Number three, are you ready for the long-term commitment of owning bricks and mortar? They are the questions that you'll be asked if you do ask that question. Is now the right time to buy a house? I think what a lot of people mean when they ask the question, what is now the right time to buy a house, is what's going to happen with the housing market? Our house price is going to crash. Our mortgage is going to go through the roof. And unfortunately, we live in a country that is full of negative news. You look at the petrol crisis, you look at the cost of living crisis, you look at COVID, you look at Brexit, and everything that was bandied around in the newspapers was all the negative. You didn't see the great newspaper stories about the COVID pandemic ending. You didn't see the massive news story of the petrol shortage finishing. I'm pretty sure you won't see the amazing news when interest rates start to go down. It's all about negative news, and unfortunately, I think as a nation we lap it up because bad news sells. And then when you involve social media onto it, and you get all of your professional experts coming out of the woodwork, it leads to a lot of I would say rubbish. So when you're asking, is now the right time to buy a house, think more about your own personal circumstances. My personal opinion is I can't see the housing market crashing. I think there's too many things in place. It's all about supply and demand, and it's quite known in the UK that there's not enough houses. That's why they keep being built. there's the reason that interest rates are shooting up, in my opinion, is down to supply more than down to the Bank of England interest rate increases. And I touched on this in the in the Mansfield 2020 business meeting when I did the speech, and the profit margins that the banks are making today, while the Bank of England base rate is at 1.25, is much bigger than the profit margins that they were making when they were offering interest rates at 1%, and the Bank of England base rate was 0.1%, because the profit margin there was 0.9%. And now, I mean, you've got Halifax offering 3.6% mortgages at a very low loan to value, and the Bank of England base rate's at 1.25. So there's a difference there of 2.35%. So that the profit margins that the banks are making at the moment are absolutely phenomenal. And I just think these interest rates are fueled by greed, and I think that they're fueled by media scaring, and people are lapping it up. We're all being told that you need to go and fix your prices because they'll fix your mortgages, or go and buy a house now because interest rates are only going to go up, or buy a house now before house values go one way or the other. And again, it goes back to me saying before, everybody who has ever purchased a house or had a mortgage in the past, or seems to be a professional on it. Now, everyone is entitled to their opinion, but just because somebody has an opinion, it doesn't mean that opinion is right, nor does it mean that it's wrong either. I've heard plenty of people who aren't professionals in this industry come out with some very, very reasonable and sensible things, just as much as I've seen people come out with some very ridiculous things and not very sensible things. So if we touch on, is it a good time to get a mortgage? Well, first time buyers, I would say getting a house, it is a good time to buy a house, because I don't think there is a bad time to buy a house. What I do think is it's not easy for a first time buyer to buy a house at the moment. I think things are getting more and more difficult. And if things are getting more and more difficult, well, surely it's better to get a mortgage or a house now before it gets even more difficult. There has been year on well, if we go back to the first quarter of the year, there was a 10% fall in mortgage application acceptance. So we're already seeing that lenders are already starting to be a lot tighter on who they accept and who they decline on mortgage applications. I can name several big lenders that are being much more stringent on their underwriting, coming back and asking a lot more questions, which is making us mortgage brokers be prepared. And we're starting to ask more and more questions to our clients, not because we want to be nosy, not because we want to make you feel bad, not because we don't just sit there and ask questions for the sake of it. At the end of the day, time is money. And if we can get your mortgage application done within 10 minutes, believe you me, we would. But sometimes we ask these questions because it provides us with ammunition. We work day in and day out, filling in application forms, dealing with lenders, dealing with underwriters, answering those questions. And we know what we sort of get an idea of what questions they're going to throw at us. I know, for instance, with being in this industry for as long as I have, I've won numerous awards. I've done hundreds, thousands of mortgages whilst being in this industry, and I can tell by looking at somebody's application whether or not it's going to go through. Only Friday, only just gone Friday, I've just done a mortgage application for a couple that I've only just recently been dealing with. Now, they've been somewhere, they've been seeing another broker, and the broker put them with a lender. First of all, this broker told my clients the wrong criteria. They didn't go in for the correct maximum age. They didn't go in for the correct income. And lo and behold, that lender declined my applicant. Now, my applicant has now come to me, seen my reviews, seen the awards, seen the Facebook page, seen the website page. And lo and behold, I did the meeting with them on Friday, did the agreement in principle with them there and then. I actually did it with the same lender that the original mortgage advisor put them with, and it got accepted. So as a mortgage advisor, what I use is I use my experience, and I document every case that goes through. So then I have a diary of what lenders are going to accept what lenders' stances are on certain things. And my client is over the moon, can't understand why one lender declined in with mortgage broker A, yet with mortgage broker B, myself, they got accepted. So for me, the most important thing is make sure you choose the right mortgage advisor, make sure you do the research for the right mortgage advisor. If you're using the wrong mortgage advisor, if you're using the wrong mortgage, now is not the right time to get a mortgage. So there's a lot more things that go into the question of, is now the right time to buy a property? There is an 18% downfall on mortgage acceptance since June 2021. So year on year, mortgage acceptances are down. I've got this from Mortgage Strategy, by the way, if anybody is interested in the where I'm referencing my quotes from. But for me, the most important thing is that as lenders are starting to decline more and more people, it's more and more important that if you really want the house of your dreams, that you make sure it is done properly. And again, my own personal opinion is the only way to make sure that it is done properly is to make sure you've got a professional doing that application for you. If you are one of these people that thinks that submitting a mortgage application is the same as submitting a credit card application, then I'm sorry, but you're completely wrong. And in the long run, you're more than likely going to be out of pocket. A good mortgage advisor is out there, number one, to save you money, but number two, make sure we get your mortgage right and get it right first time. Okay, we're not a middleman car salesman. We are a professional intermediary that's there, and it's in our best interest to get your mortgage through, making sure that it's done properly first time. So as I've already said, we're watching mortgage acceptance rates drop year on year, so it is getting harder. Halifax announced last week that mortgage affordability in the UK at an all-time low. Not surprising, seeing as inflation is as it is, interest rates are increasing. ONS data, cost of living is increasing, and wages are staying as they are. The only way that affordability is going to increase is if people's salaries increase. And for me, the most important thing is that employers need to take a look at what they are paying their staff, because at State of Mortgages, that's what we've done with certain members of our team. We've made sure that their pay has been risen in line with inflation, and just making sure that everybody can survive with the cost of living. Because when it comes down to it, we're talking about, is now the right time to buy a house? And if you think about the average house price in the UK, the average house price in the UK being £257,000, yet the average salary in the UK being £32,000. The average affordability with a lender is 4.5. Let's just make it easy and say it's 5 times salary. It's 4.5, but let's just say it's 5 times salary. Well, 5 times £30,000 is £150,000. So if you're wanting to buy an average house price of £250,000, but can only get a maximum loan of £150,000, means you're going to have to put down £100,000 deposit. So is now the right time to buy a house? Well, if the average person doesn't have £100,000 as a deposit, then no, they can't buy the average house. So for me, it's all about making sure that you can afford it. You know what the criteria is of the lender, and you are well prepared. Okay. Is now the right time to buy a house? Do you have 3 months pay slips? Because most lenders are going to ask for them. Have you got 6 months evidence of where your deposit has been? Because most lenders and most solicitors are going to ask for them. Have you got proof of address? Have you got proof of ID? Have you got 3 months bank statements? Has your credit report been pretty good? Have you missed any payments within the last 3 months, 6 months? All lenders are going to look at all of these certain things. Is now the right time to buy a house? Well, the only person that knows whether or not it is the right time to buy a house is yourself. Only you know if you're ready for it. Only you know whether or not you are capable of getting up and going to work and being able to afford that property. Only you know if you are happy at buying the house that you have seen. It's a long-term investment. So the most important thing to me is you shouldn't be asking, is now the right time to buy a house? You should be asking, am I now ready to buy a house? So if you've tuned into this video to hear about me guaranteeing that house prices are going to increase, if you've tuned into this video to hear whether I talk about interest rates are guaranteed to drop, then unfortunately it's not the right video for you, because the question that I've used is now the right time to buy a house is quite possibly one of the biggest questions that get asked, but most importantly, it's one of the questions that nobody on this planet, I believe, is physically capable of answering to the level that some people want it answering. Nobody can tell you if the house market is going to crash. Nobody can tell you if the house prices are going to continue to grow. We can tell you what current trends are, and we can tell you what forecasts are, but we can't tell you with a guaranteed ironclad guarantee that what is going to happen. All I can say is my advice. My advice is, if you are buying a house at this moment, you should be seeing a professional. You should be talking to a mortgage advisor. You should be making sure it's done properly. Because the most important thing is, some people, you may only get one shot at buying a property. So do that shot and use the right mortgage advisor. For people out there that go to their own banks, if your own bank's turned you away, that is not the be all and end all of it. A lot of banks are quite cautious on the advice, if you can call it advice, that they give to you. So don't just take your own bank's yes or no. Go and speak to a professional. What we're seeing at the moment is interest rates changing on a daily basis. Last week we saw NatWest increase their base rate by, we saw that Bank of England increase. We saw the NatWest increase their own fixed rates by up to 0.79%. That's a massive increase. So if on, let's say, Monday you went in, got an agreement in principle because you saw the amazing 2.89% interest rate that NatWest had available, you got accepted on the agreement in principle. 5 days later, you went in to do your full mortgage application. That 2.89% isn't there anymore. You've now got a 3.6%. 3.6% interest rate, and it's no longer even in the top 20 sourcing lenders. Same with the Halifax. Santander, they managed to become the top sourcing lender on our panel for 3 days last week. They didn't even realise they were the top sourcing lender. They became the top sourcing lender by mistake. They didn't change their interest rates. What they actually did, everybody else had increased their interest rates that much that all of a sudden Santander became the cheapest just by staying as they were. Lo and behold, on Friday at 4 o'clock, Santander made an announcement that they were increasing interest rates by up to 0.5% at 10 p.m. that evening. So there was a mass meltdown. So what we've started to do at Stater Mortgages is, where it's all possible, if we're doing an agreement in principle, if it is possible, for instance, remortgages, definitely, we're trying to get your agreement in principle and your full mortgage application done in one fell swoop. Because when we sit here talking to you about interest rates, the next day, the likelihood is they're not going to be there. And for me, that is a big, big reason for using mortgage brokers, because you can go to your own bank, you get booked in, you go through the agreement in principle, they tell you the fantastic rate at agreement in principle. 4 weeks later, you finally book back in to do your full mortgage application. That product doesn't get reserved until your full mortgage application. So if it isn't there at agreement in principle, if it isn't there, at full mortgage application stage, it's not there. Whereas with a mortgage broker, for ourselves, with over 100 lenders on panel, we did an agreement in principle on a purchase for somebody a couple of weeks ago. At the time, I believe it was TSB sourcing the top. TSB are no longer the top sourcing lender. Came in today to do their full mortgage application. We managed to switch it to another lender, did a new agreement in principle, and did their full mortgage application there and then to make sure that they succumb to no other rate increases. And the client went away with what was the top sourcing deal today. I came in this morning as a new lender on the block called Empowered Mortgages. Empowered Mortgages was sourcing really well. They were the top sourcing lender on our panel. This morning, upon doing an agreement in principle with somebody, I spoke to the business development manager. They did £10 million worth of lending on Friday. Again, they'd hit the level that they wanted to achieve. So in order to stop more applications coming through, they've increased their interest rates and they are no longer sourcing top. And this is what you need to realize about interest rates. Banks don't just give the interest rates out to generate profit. They also give increased interest rates to deter people from applying because their service levels have been affected. So in order to maintain adequate service levels, they need to stop business coming in. So what they're doing is they're increasing their interest rates to put people off of applying for mortgages, and vice versa. Their service levels drop. They need more business coming through the door. So what they do is they reduce their interest rates. One of the things that I always see is when people are on Facebook asking for recommendations, saying, can anybody advise me where to go for a mortgage? And you'll get the odd person say, oh, I went to Nationwide. They were brilliant, got to give me a great rate. Well, I'd always take that with a pinch of salt, because people are saying it's a great rate because they've been told by the person that's selling it to them that it's a great rate. And if the Nationwide, if you bought, and it's not just the Nationwide, it's the NatWest, it's Santander, Halifax, TSB, blah, blah, whatever bank you go to. If you walk into a bank today, and you walk into Nationwide, for instance, and you go and see the Nationwide mortgage advisor, the Nationwide mortgage advisor is not going to go and tell you about the NatWest intermediary special or the Halifax mortgage broker special or Santander's cashback special. They're going to tell you that their deal is the best deal for you, because they are wanting you to buy off of them. So, and I've always said, as a big football fan, I'm a big Manchester City supporter. Manchester City, if Manchester City are playing Manchester United, I am not going to want a Manchester United supporter to referee that game, because he will be biased. The most important thing for me is that I've got an impartial referee there, and that's why a mortgage advisor for me is the only way to go for getting a mortgage, because you don't want somebody to say, oh, I work for Nationwide, it's the best deal, or oh, my mortgage is with so-and-so, they were great for me, because things change on a daily basis. It's the biggest thing that you are ever going to buy in your life. So make sure you do it properly. So for me, that is everything. I'm hoping to try and talk about something new next week, but at the moment the mortgage headlines are currently being dominated by interest rates, inflation. If anybody has something that they would like me to discuss, please feel free to drop a message on the comments or inbox me, or message us on our Facebook page at State of Mortgages. You can also email us info@statemortgages.co.uk, and we will be more than happy to talk about anything that you need us to talk about moving forward. But thank you very much for giving me 24 minutes of your precious time, and you all take care. Good luck and enjoy the rest of your week. Bye-bye.